Hey friends, welcome back. My name is Leah and I'm the Redheaded Witch. So I am slowly but surely getting back into my routine after a visit from Hannah, Simply Witch. If you didn't see, I have a vlog before this video of our Washington travels. Hannah and I have been friends for a few years now. We actually met online and our friendship is really special to me. I really do consider her like a sister. When she told me that she was looking at Washington State to move, you know, her and her family early next year, I just was super excited to know that I would have another connection here in the Pacific Northwest. I have lived here for about a year now. That trip was really validating for my decision to have that conversation with my husband and moving to the Pacific Northwest. At the time, we didn't really know exactly where we wanted to be, so we went ahead and made a decision of the location with the idea in mind that we would probably explore other areas within Washington. However, the last year has been really special and I was kind of nervous going on this trip with Hannah because I thought I was going to discover a new town that I really adored so that we would move and like have that conversation to move. But honestly, it was really validating where we decided to settle down in the Pacific Northwest for me. And that was a really nice relief to have. Actually, looking back on that vlog video when I was editing, I noticed that when we visited Bellingham, I did an oracle reading for myself and I pulled the card that represented home. And at first I was like, oh, okay. And the definition of it talked about, you know, settling into where you are now and creating those roots to establish like your home place. At the time, I was still very much open-minded to the idea of pursuing a different town or area within Washington, but I kind of forgot about that reading as the trip progressed. And so by the time Hannah and I got back to my home, I started thinking about how special this area is and how magical it is and the nature that has surrounded us. And I came to the conclusion that I really love and want to take root where we ended up kind of taking like a chance on. It ended up being the perfect place. So editing that and kind of seeing the progress and the solution that I came to at the very end, those are kind of like the breadcrumbs that I see personally within my own connection to divinity and to my spirits. So I thought that was a great kind of lead into today's discussion about spirit communication. Now this video is inspired by a conversation that I had with my friends. And I did a video about ancestor work and what spirit communication looks like. But I thought I would go ahead and kind of talk about spirit communication on my channel because I've spoken about connecting to spirits such as your ancestral spirits, plant allies, without too much information on what that can actually look like. I always like to mention that this is based on my personal approach and experience over time within my own practice. Spirit communication is going to look different for everyone, especially as you develop a relationship with a spirit, and it's going to be unique to the witch. So this is not a one and be done. It is simply like a start of a conversation. The way that I have experienced spirit communication, I kind of categorize it in like two different ways. One of the ways is through the physical realm, and I think that this is the most commonly discussed. Spirit communication within the physical realm can look like utilizing divination tools. So this is like cartomancy, this is wax reading, this is scrying, anything that is kind of like tangible within our realm, anything that we are able to see with our own eyes and touch and feel and have that like tangible confirmation experience. This can also include symbolism within nature, such as plants or animals. You'll see often within folk practices of utilizing nature as divination. So for example, Scottish folks would use bird divination as a form of communication to divinity. There's also a belief that translated over to the Appalachian Mountains. Growing up, I always heard that the cardinal would represent a past loved one who was looking after you. And that's a belief that I kept with me in my own practice. Other affirmations in our physical realm can be like particular songs that are played at a certain time. Perhaps you had a song that reminded you of your past loved one or a family member, and it begins to play. It's kind of like that beautiful affirmation that they are present and that they are with you. There may be even like certain words or phrases that you would hear from someone else that a past loved one had spoken about or said to you. So it's like a reoccurring message that often comes to you in a particular moment in your life. These are just a few of the examples when it comes to spirit communication within the physical realm. Then there is communication within the spiritual realm. And this one is a little bit more complex because it's not as tangible as it is in the physical realm. This includes your experiences within spirit flight, dream work, or even entering a trance-like state during meditation. In these experiences, you may have certain visuals that come up, certain feelings, maybe even words or phrases that pop into your mind without any sort of context. And these are really profound experiences because it is stepping your foot into the spiritual realm. I think these experiences are really affirming when it comes to, getting confirmation on the path that you're on or the manifestation of a particular working or spell. These experiences are also super intimate. Sometimes you will find yourself encountering a spell that is willing to share their knowledge with you during spirit flight. Other times, a spirit will unveil certain secrets or things within the shadows during dream work. Again, every witch is going to have a different form of communication with their spirit. And over time, as you build that relationship with the spirit, the ways in which you communicate are going to be so unique. An experience that I'm willing to share that I communicated with a spirit within the spiritual realm was doing a healing ritual. This healing ritual was super special, and I was super honored to have a friend present with me. She's also very much connected to the other world. She incorporates deities into her practice, so there are certain symbolisms that her and her deities use to communicate with one another. The entire time that we were present within the Appalachian Mountains where we were partaking in this ritual, she kept seeing these affirmations and signs from her deities. And because at the time I did not include deities into my practice, it was something that was entirely for her. She was able to kind of share that with me and what they represented for her, which was in total alignment with the purpose and intention of this ritual. In this ritual, I entered a trance-like state in meditation. My friend made us a beautiful bonfire, and it was incredibly cleansing and releasing a lot of anger and resentment. Something that was being stored within my stomach and my chest that was actually making me physically ill. I just cannot even begin to express exactly the sensation that I felt, but I welcomed in an ancestral guide. I talk a little bit about addressing ancestors in my collaborative video with Hannah Simply Witched. So whenever she posts that, be sure to go check it out. I called upon an ancestral guide to aid me in this particular healing ritual. One who resonated with what I experienced, one who witnessed my tears, and that was one of the most profound moments I had in my practice because I truly felt a spirit present. And everyone kind of experiences that differently, but for me, it feels warm on my body, and it feels almost like I can actually feel a physical touch. I will also experience certain visualizations, and I am going to keep that private for now because that is just super intimate to me. But while I was experiencing this deep meditation, my friend was witnessing this magic happen. And as I was coming out of this deep meditation, she just whispered to me you woke something up in these woods. And the release of that was just stored in my body, and knowing that I had a spirit there who was comforting me and letting me express, I'm gonna get emotional, and letting me express those emotions that were just deeply stored. Those are the types of experiences that you can't really explain and teach someone until, they experience it for themselves. That's what I mean when there are different forms of communication within the physical and spiritual realm, and sometimes they meet. And that's exactly what happened during this ritual. After this meditation, I was scrying with a fire, and I saw lots of symbolisms that really represented what I was going through. And afterwards, I laid on this beautiful mossy rock near the water, and it was almost like truly a phoenix rising. It was just a really beautiful and profound ritual for me. A conversation worth mentioning that requires a little bit of nuance is confirmation bias. I don't see this talked about a whole lot within the witchcraft community, but it is something to touch on. This is where it gets a little sticky when it comes to confirmation bias, because the human brain is fascinating. If you kind of step into the world of psychology a little bit, you will learn about what confirmation bias means. But what this is that there is a pre-established narrative within your mind. Within the spiritual community, I see very often a lot of tarot readers online sharing kind of like collective tarot readings or tarot readings for particular people based on their zodiac signs. There is nothing wrong with doing that. You know, I think everyone's tarot readings are a different practice in their own, and should they decide to share that, that is entirely on them. However, I think it's really important to still kind of remain a little bit skeptical when it comes to tarot readings that you see on social media. I'm only trying to use this example because it's something I have witnessed myself. So if there is a tarot reader that you follow on social media, and every single time they do a tarot reading for you, they mention something like someone is sending you negativity. And I mean, like, it's consistently every single reading they are saying this narrative. Can't help but feel like if you are being consistently told something of that nature, of something that is not necessarily good for your mental well-being, and not something that you felt prior to witnessing like this particular tarot reading saying it to you, it kind of develops a narrative within your mind. And then all of a sudden you are looking for confirmation in other areas of your life. So for example, you see this tarot reading and they're like, someone's sending you negativity. Then all of a sudden you stub your toe the next day, and all of a sudden, like, you know, something didn't go as planned, or something fell through, or you had an argument, and all of a sudden it was like a domino effect of all of these like not so great things happening. It's very easy to just point to what you previously heard of someone sending you negativity. This is why I feel like it's really important to have a few different ways and forms of communication with your spirits, especially when it comes to confirmation in something in particular. Like I said, everyone's communication with their spirits is going to be unique to themselves. I think I've witnessed too many people fall down kind of like a little bit of a rabbit hole that creates a lot of you know, paranoia and uncertainty, and it affects their self-esteem, or it's not really great for their mental well-being. This is why strengthening your intuition, becoming really personal with your own spirit, your values, your passions, you know, really kind of cleansing your own energy and being able to own your own energy is a really great practice to have in your craft. It's helpful to kind of deviate between what is someone else's and what's actually yours, especially as you are exposed to so much of, like, you know, what people may be saying online. Again, it's a nuanced conversation. It's not one that I see spoken about a whole lot on, you know, social media and digital platforms, but I felt really compelled to mention it. I myself have fallen down that same rabbit hole, and I can tell you that it is not a great place to be. I'm not saying that they are completely invalid. That is not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is that if you are needing confirmation for something in particular, I would always resort to the ways that have always been consistent and affirmed for you in your communication with divinity or spirit. And perhaps you have a particular rule, like, you know, if there are like 3 signs or 6 signs, whatever that may be for you, I think that's just like a really great practice. Anyways, I'm gonna be putting that aside now. I hope that this provides some insight to you and spirit communication, and in some ways that you may begin to practice that. I also personally like to look at the different divination ways of my ancestors within England and Scotland, and kind of integrate their folk traditions within my own craft. So that might be of interest to you as well. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. And if you're willing to share like an experience, feel free to, but other than that, I will see you in the next one.